Hello and welcome back to Phil's Drone Zone, and in particular, welcome back to Learning Piece by Piece, the complete beginner's guide to creating in Motion 5. If you are a first-time visitor here and you're interested in learning Motion, don't forget to click that subscribe button and click the bell so that you'll be updated when the future videos are uploaded in this series. Also, I would recommend that you follow this course step by step. So if you are new here, I would recommend going back to step 1, tutorial 1, and starting from the beginning, where we looked at the interface and looked at some stuff that you can use in the library. One of the really big mistakes that I made when I was learning was trying to run before I could walk. So that's why I recommend that you take each lesson step by step and that you fully understand what's contained in that lesson before moving on to the next one. Each week we will run through some examples and then I'll give you some tasks so that you can become very familiar with creating your own personalized items. Okay, so let's dive straight into today's video, which is basic animation of shapes and text. Once inside Motion, hit Shift and Z on the keyboard to fit the canvas. Now in my group, I'm going to go to Library, Generators, and I'm going to find the gradient. I'll just drag the gradient into the group. It's not the best gradient I've ever seen, so we're going to make some adjustments to it. Open up the inspector, click the little arrow next to the gradient, and these little tabs at the end, you can change the color. So we'll just change the color of the first tab, and then on the left-hand tab, I'm going to try and match up a color that's fairly close. I want a very subtle effect, so we're going to try and get something that's fairly close to the original color. You can choose whatever colors you want to make your gradient. And then I don't want it to be linear, so I'm going to come down here to Type and click Radial. And then I'm just going to use these little start and end boxes on X and Y to position my colors and to create the gradient as I want to. Now I'm not going to make too much of a fuss over it this time. One of the golden rules that you should remember is that always take your time when working in Motion. Because this is a tutorial, I'm not going to, and I think that's probably enough messing about in there. And yeah, I think that's probably okay. So let's move on. So let's close that group up and we'll open up a new group. Now in this group, I'm going to be just working with a square. So I'll click on that group and I'll rename it Square. And I will rename it, this group while I'm at it, to Background BG. Okay, so the little shapes icon at the bottom of the screen, and I'm just going to now drag out a square. Hold down Shift to make a perfect square. I'll reset the parameter on position to center it, and now I'm going to make some changes to the shape, and I'm just going to reduce the scale a little bit and go into the shape tab, and I'm just going to change the color of my shape. Okay, so something like that. That'll do for me. Now I can either have an outline, I can increase the width of the outline and change the color. There we go, something like that. Or I can have both. But for this, I'm just going to have a solid. So I'll just click on Fill and I'll go to Properties and I'm going to give it a little drop shadow. We'll increase the width of the drop shadow and the blur a little bit so it's not so full on, and that's that done, and we've created quite a nice little shape there already. Okay, so now I will highlight it and I'll just drag it over into the top left hand corner. Okay, now I can animate this shape on the position parameter X and Y. I can use rotation or scale. There are other things that I can use. I mean, shear, which I don't see used very often but it's also something you can animate your shape on. Opacity, and increase or decrease the opacity. You can animate the color, you can animate the feather. There are so many parameters that you can animate your shapes and text. So let's go back to properties, and I'm just going to go up to the top, parameter, and reset all. And I'm going to move it back to where it was originally. Reduce the scale again. And now I'm ready to animate. Okay, so I'm going to find the first frame, and then I'm going to click on the keyframe for the position parameter. Now you'll see that it turns yellow to indicate there's a keyframe there. Then I'm going to move forward 20 frames, and I'm just going to drag it off the canvas on the X-axis. So there you have it. That's your first simple little animation. Okay, but it's not great, so I'm just going to alter by clicking on the keyframe editor at the end there. I'm just going to highlight all the keyframes, right click on one of them and select Ease Both, and that will give me a much smoother animation. Okay, close up the keyframe panel, and let's find the 20th frame again. Okay, now I'm going to go to the inspector and just bring the box back into the canvas. And then I'm going to keyframe on the scale parameter. And then we'll move forward 10 frames. And then we will bring the scale down to 0. Move forward another 10 frames and keyframe scale and position. Shall we do opacity? Yeah, let's do opacity just in case. I don't know what's going to happen yet. So I'll then move forward 20 frames, and I will then drag back on the X-axis to its original position and then drop it down on the Y. I will increase the scale back to where it was before. And now what you've done is create very simply, out of very simple keyframes, a very nice little animation. Okay, let's close up that group because I just had an idea, and we'll create another group, and I'm going to import this little PNG that I found of an airplane. So I'm going to go to my inspector, properties, and I'm going to firstly reduce the scale of it. Somewhere about there. And then I will drag it off to the top left-hand corner. Okay, so I will move forward. Say, let's keyframe position and scale, and I'll move forward, say, 90 frames. So let's type in 91, 3 seconds. And then I'm going to move the plane across the canvas on the X parameter. And I'm just going to drop it down a little on the Y parameter. Okay, so then I'm going to increase the scale a little bit, something like that. And then what I'll do is I'll drag it off so that it's not visible on the canvas. So then I have this little airplane coming in, and it looks like it's coming towards me. Go to the keyframe inspector, highlight all your keyframes, right click on one, and once again, ease both. And that will give you a smoother animation. And there you have a nice little animation of an image that you've imported into your project. Okay, let's add a text. Let's type into the text, animating shapes and text, something like that. Press escape to exit typing mode, and then center align the text. Okay, and then increase the scale to the finish size that you want. Go to text, appearance, and change the color to any color you want. Okay, so having done that, I'll give it a little outline. I'll probably give it an outline of 4 or 5 and make the outline white. There you go. And now I'm going to drag that across to where I want the text to finish up. Okay, got it. Now I will move forward to the 90 frame mark. I want to find out where I want it to finish. I want the text to finish around about there. That's cool. So I will keyframe at that position I want it to finish. Scale and position. Then I'll move back to the first frame, move it over on X and Y, position it to where I want it, and then I will decrease the scale and then make fine adjustments to the position after I've decreased the scale. So now I have my text coming in with the airplane. The only problem is that they're in the wrong place. I want the airplane in front of the text, so just drag airplane in the project window above the text. And then you've got a simple, really simple, effective animation. Very basic, I know, but we're starting to understand how these things work. Okay, close that group off. We'll call it plane. Always, always stay organized with your groups. We'll add a new group, and this time we're going to work with some circles. So we'll click on our shapes, go for circle, and we'll just turn off the plane group, disable the plane group, and then we'll drag out a circle. Hit the Shift key to keep the circle in perfect dimension. We're going to make this now an outline. And I'm going to change the color of the outline to my top color up here. And then I'm going to increase the width somewhere around about 15 so that we can see it pretty clearly. Then right click and duplicate the circle. I will change the color of the duplicate to the other color that I want. And then I'm just going to increase the scale very slightly so that both circles are now visible. Okay, it's going well so far. So now we will import the Apple logo, which I found again free online, and then scale down the Apple logo. And then I'm going to center that in the middle of the 2 circles. Okay, so we'll go to circle 1 and keyframe on rotation this time. I'm going to open it up so I can see all the X, Y, and Z rotation properties. So I'm going to keyframe the first circle on rotation, and I'm then going to do exactly the same for the second circle. I'll move forward 60 frames, and the first circle I'm going to rotate on the y-axis, and I'm just going to type in -360. On the first one, I'm going to type in 360. No minus this time, no negative value this time. And now they're going to rotate 360 degrees over that specified time in different directions. Now to get them to interact properly with each other, I need to make the group 3D. So go to Group, open up the group section and make it 3D. And now you'll find they actually interact properly with each other. Okay, going well so far, but I want to do something with the logo, so I'm going to just rename that group to Circles. I'm going to add some text. So I will add Motion 5 will do, press Escape, go to Properties and increase the size of my text. Position it, and then I will go to Text, Appearance, and change the color of the text. Okay, we're looking good so far. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of the animation, and I want to animate a little bit the logo. So I will highlight the logo in the project window, and I will go back 10 frames and keyframe on opacity and drop the opacity down to 0. Move forward 10 frames and increase the opacity back up to 100. So now it's going to fade in very quickly before the circles start rotating around it. Okay, let's go to behaviors, text basic, and we'll select, which one should we select? Let's select arrange in and see what happens with that one. Okay, so let's go forward 30 frames and then press O on the keyboard to set the out point for the text. Then you've created a nice little effect out of pretty much just a few keyframes. Okay, let's close that group and disable it. Okay, so now I'm going to go to project and click on add object and another group. And this group I'm going to call lower third. Okay, good. And I'm going to go to my rectangle shapes and select rectangle, and I'm going to draw out a rectangle across the screen. I will then go to shape and change the color. We'll make this one the second color, the darker color. And so I will then right click on that shape and duplicate. Change the color of the second one to a different color. Okay, so I'm just going to adjust the position of the top one so that some of the second one is just overhanging at the bottom there. Creates a nice little effect that you've got one on top of the other. Okay, so I want to animate that in from the left hand side and scale it in on the left hand side. Okay, so first I'm going to select my logo, go to properties, and we'll scale down the logo, and then we'll drag the logo over to cover up the beginning of my rectangles. Okay, as I said, I want to scale the rectangles in from the left hand side. I'll disable my logo for now so I can see them, but if I now go to scale on the X parameter, unfortunately I have a problem, because that's not the effect that I actually wanted. Now the problem that I have is with the anchor point, and the anchor point is situated in the center. Go to the transform tool and select anchor point, and then you can drag the anchor point over to the point where you want the animation to begin from, and do that for both. I'll do that for both rectangles, and line the arrow, the green arrow, up with the edge of the rectangle. I'll go back to my transform tool, and now when I move it on the X parameter, I've got the effect that I'm looking for. Okay, so I will keyframe on the X scale parameter on both rectangles. Then I need to reduce the X scale parameter down to 0. And I'll do that on both rectangles. Then I'll move forward 20 frames. And then I will increase the scale back up to 100 on both rectangles. And now I've got the effect that I was looking for. The anchor point is just basically the point on the object that the animation moves from or to, and sometimes we're going to have to adjust the anchor point to get the effect that we need, as we did have to there. Select the logo, move back 10 frames, and then we are going to reduce the opacity to 0 and keyframe it. Move forward 10 frames and increase the opacity to 100, and then it will fade in very quickly at the beginning of the animation. Finally, what we need to do is add some text. So click on my text tool, and I'll just type in something. Yeah, animating text and shapes and text. We'll type that in again. and then hit escape to exit typing mode, go to properties and increase the scale to fit the box. And once we've scaled it as we want it, then position it using the X and Y parameters. Okay, that's cool. We've kind of got that positioned up. I'm going to go to format in text, and I'm going to increase the tracking a little bit to fill up the box a little better. And then back to properties. I'm just going to position that a little bit better then. Okay, so find where I want the text to start emerging, somewhere around there. Yeah, that'll do. And I may have to move the text back to where I want it to start animating. Okay, so highlight, go to behaviors. Again, we're going to select text basic, and this time we're going to select slide in. And nothing happens. Hang on, it's a bit strange. It's coming in backwards. No worries, we'll go and click on controls to open up the controls there. And where it says direction, we'll click forwards. And now it's going to behave as we want it to. Okay, so we need to time that a little better. So we're going to trim it off so that it fits the movement of the rectangles a little bit better. And we're just playing with that. Let's move forward 20 frames. Hit O on the keyboard. And then hopefully that should come in at a good speed that it fits. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Okay, so that's another animation completed. And things are looking good. You're starting to understand now how to animate objects on the canvas. Okay, at the end of each video, you'll get some tasks to do. And this will help you to understand not just how to copy something, but how to begin creating new and original material. And so today, the tasks are as follows. Okay, so if you create something that you really like and want to keep, then it's fairly straightforward. Let's say I want to keep this lower third. Then I'll just go to File, Convert Project to Generator, go back to File and click Save As. Then it'll bring up this strange little box. Just type in the name of your elements, I'd call it lower third. And then I'm going to save it in my generators. If you don't have it, you can make a custom one. And then click Publish. Open up Final Cut Pro and go to Titles, Generators, and My Generators, and you'll see your saved item already loaded into the folder you created. And that's the end of tutorial number 2. If you like the video, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click that bell. If you have any questions, please leave them for me in the comments below and I'll answer them as soon as I possibly can. Okay, so all that remains to be said is enjoy your homework and I'll see you in the next video.